very happy to be home and to see all you bright, shiny faces. So I want to tell you where I've been, what's been going on, and I'm going to take you on a little trip with me. So some of you know that I was out of town. I went first down to Miami. Some of you may remember my dad's twin sister had cancer and passed away in December. So I was down in Miami doing the memorial service for her. And I do things a little different. You know, we're a little bit different here. My family is very Catholic. And so I show them a new way of how to do that when someone passes, that it doesn't have to be doom and gloom and sadness. And we just really had a wonderful, wonderful celebration of her life. And got to hang out with my cousins after. We did a lot of laughter. And, you know, for how many of you were your cousins your best friends when you were growing up? And so those are some of my best friends and our spouses. And we just really enjoyed each other tremendously. And then I took a flight from Miami International Airport, left that, and headed on to Denver. And so Donna and Norma, who've traveled with me, know there's a little something funny. It's happened now in 3 different airports. You know, you go through airport security, and they're checking you out for hot spots, see if you're carrying it, you got any metal on you. I don't have any metal that I'm aware of in my body, but I have a hot spot apparently. It's right here. 3 airports this has happened now. So I go through security checkpoint and they say, you've got something, go back through again. And I go back through, and you know, you have to take your computer out of your bag and you put everything on the conveyor and it goes through. And so I went through twice, still have the hot spot. Now they're patting me down. I'm embarrassed. I'm watching stuff going down the conveyor and it's starting to collect, and the jackets and things are falling over the side. So when they finally give me the green light to go, I grab my stuff and I run and I take off and I get on the plane. And as we're landing in Denver, it's that Home Alone moment. Do you remember when what's the character's name? Whatever his name. When Macaulay Culkin goes, oops, sorry. It was the moment I realized I didn't put my computer back in the bag. Oh my gosh. It's got all my work. It's got all this personal stuff, and it's sitting there at Miami International Airport. And I'm just praying on the plane, like maybe I don't remember putting it back in the bag. But of course I didn't. So here's the wonderful thing about my tribe and the people I hang with. Is for that moment of panic, like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And then letting it go, like I might find it, I might not. I just need to be okay with it and go into the week and, you know, do my thing. But everyone I spoke to said, oh, that happened to me. Oh, that happened to my cousin. Oh, that happened to so-and-so. And every single one said they got it back. So I just relaxed into that and said, well, you know, I'm going to get it back or I'm not. And either way, it's going to be okay. It was recovered. Isn't that awesome? I got it back, but I had a whole week of just hanging out without my computer and was able to be really present, which was important. It's something that I needed to do, so it worked out great. So there's the plane to Denver. How many of y'all know Denver is cold in February? I don't even have like a decent coat anymore. Thank you, Donna, for... There was discussion about this thing, you know, like why we have convention. And by the way, I was in Denver for the Centers for Spiritual Living Convention, which we have every other year. We gather in person, and on the off year, we do it online. So it was in Denver this year, and I'm thinking, why the heck, people, who wants to go where there's cold and snow in February? Why don't they come down here to Florida or go to California? But anyway, it was in Denver. So that's me in the cold. And that's me having a few margaritas with my buddies and, as I said, my tribe. It's always fun to get together with the people that do the same work that you do, and you can kind of commiserate and compare notes and all that fun stuff, and people that I only get to see about once a year. So that was great fun. And the other reason I was there, I was not going to go, again, because it was Denver in February. But that wonderful lady right there, Reverend Peggy Hostetler, who was the minister here for about 20 years, this is actually the place also where I found this teaching. As I said, I was raised Catholic and looked and searched for many, many years, and I found this place about 15 years ago. And Reverend Peggy was the minister. And she became my teacher and my mentor and my role model and really groomed me and allowed me to step into this pulpit as she left. And she was recognized with an honorary doctorate for her service to the organization. Really wonderful. She teaches at the School of Spiritual Leadership. She also is now the senior minister in the Center for Spiritual Living in Orlando, which is the home base for the ministerial program that's being taught out of Florida. And that's a bunch of the students that she has taught that are now ministers that are all over the country. And that's just a few of us. That was just a few of them. So she's had a great reach, and it just was a wonderful opportunity. I got to actually put the hood over her. You know, it was just a beautiful honor that she asked me to do that. And I did show her the video. I know you guys, yes, you all did an awesome video. She was very grateful for that, and it was just a wonderful time. And you're going to be meeting some of these folks, if you haven't already, when I have my ordination ceremony next month. So that was that. In April, yeah, next month.
Today's the 1st, yeah.
We're in March, right? Yeah. So we gathered again in Denver for our annual meeting. Let me get some glasses because I want to share just a little bit with you about some of the strides and things that have happened in Centers for Spiritual Living over the past year. And that is a pictorial version of the annual report, which I think is really cute. I think I'm going to take that idea for myself. So just so you know, I know a lot of you found this place here in Ocala, and you're so grateful that we have this, you know, and it feels like this oasis, right? But there are a lot more of us. There's a whole lot more of us. We're not the only ones. In fact, there's 526 affiliated communities and study groups all around the world. Isn't that amazing? 526. Most of those are actual centers, just like this one. Most of them are smaller. On the smaller side, they have an average weekly attendance of about 90 people. Let's see, we've got 888 ministers, 2,547 practitioners. The magazine has a monthly reach of 55,000. Let's see, our titles of book titles have been translated in 12 languages. Right, so lots of great stuff, and if you want to take a look at this, I've got some back there on that shelf back there by the tech station if you want to look into any of that. The other reason that we came together was because it was time for a change in our spiritual leadership. You know, our spiritual leader serves a term of, I think it's 3 years, it's either 3 or 4. And the gentleman there on the left was Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon, who was rolling off. He was done after serving over 20 years in leadership on a national level, international level. He's actually Canadian. And he is just a love and a light. How many of you have ever heard Dr. Ken speak? Just an incredible, incredible love, light, wonderful person. Helped me personally through some challenges. And I'll never forget one workshop we were at, I think it was in Asilomar. And it was that moment of, you know, you've got 200 people in a room and there's just love and light and the tears are flowing. There's so much joy. And then you start realizing, oh, we all have to leave one another. You know, we all have to go home. And it's like back to the real world, right? People were saying that, back to the real world. And Dr. Ken said, no, this is the real world. What we experience in here, this feeling, this love, this connection, this joy, that's the real world. This is what we are tasked with creating out in the rest of the world. And that has stuck with me, you know, such a beautiful thing. We have all this love and joy, and hopefully, you know, you all feel that when you come in here on Sunday morning. And it's real. It's real. And this is what we could be feeling in other parts of our lives. It doesn't have to just be when you're here on Sunday morning. It could be when you're with your family. It could be in your workplace. It could be in your neighborhood. This is what we can create. It is the real world. And so I just love him. And the person standing next to him is the person who was voted as our new spiritual leader. His name is Reverend Dr. Edward Villun, and he is from the Center for Spiritual Living in Santa Rosa, California. And he also is a great joy. I've got a video that you're going to get to watch of Dr. Edward. That's the video. Is that the video? Let me check my notes here. Yeah, I think that is the video. So let me just give you a little background on that. There were 5 people that ran for this top office, and each one of them each one submitted videos. So this has been going on for months, the preparation. But at the actual convention, each person got 5 minutes to speak on what their vision is for Centers for Spiritual Living. And their job, their role, the role of the spiritual leader, is to be the public face of our organization for the world, right? At the World Parliament of Religions, and when something happens and there are press releases that go out and we make a stand as an organization. Anyway, so each one of them got 5 minutes. So this is Dr. Edwards' basically his elevator pitch, right? What he would say to the public about who we are before he found out that he was our spiritual leader. Okay, so that's what you're going to see. And it's kind of like one of those old Japanese films where the mouth is moving, but the voice is off. Sorry about that. If that bugs you, just close your eyes. It's not the best rendering, but you'll get a feel for who he is. So, thank you.
Candidate. Then please give a CFL welcome to Dr. Edward Viljoen.
Good morning. Emerson said that genius always finds itself a century too early. And I believe that is exactly the case with our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, because the teaching that he brought alive in the world in the 20th century wasn't just for then, it was for us now. So we are beneficiaries of a teaching that can and does awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. And that is the purpose of our movement, Centers for Spiritual Living. And we ought not to keep that a secret for much longer. Because you and I know that our teaching of oneness and inclusivity and loving kindness is the answer to so many of our world's problems, as it probably has been in our own lives. I believe that you are the visionary that Dr. Ernest Holmes was talking about 60 years ago when he said, "Find me a person who no longer has any fear of the universe, of God, or humankind, or anything else." It is our mission to provide the spiritual tools that people can use to live that way, to think fearlessly, to live fearlessly, to love expansively, and to choose wisely, and to create a way of living that leads to our mission of personal and global transformation. And now it's our turn to present what we have learned to the world as a salve for hearts that are yearning for an awakening of new thought. So our highest priority can be then to share our good news through our spiritual education, to make it available far and wide, anywhere and everywhere where people are dreaming of a greater yet to be. We are Centers for Spiritual Living, and we hold within us the blueprint of what is to come. We are the visionaries, the vision casters, the vision holders for a world that works for everyone, the kind of world, unfortunately, which is not yet a reality for so many beings. Granted, in a strictly metaphysical sense, the world is undoubtedly working just as it should, according to the exact same spiritual laws that it always has. And on a social level, there is clearly so much opportunity to demonstrate a better world that our hearts and our minds yearn for and know is possible. Leo Tolstoy said, "Truth, like gold, is to be obtained not by its growth, but by washing away from it everything that is not gold." And our teaching, the science of mind, it gives us bold and riveting direction for clearing the way to that goal, consciousness. So surely we must stand for equal rights for all. Surely we must pursue the end of hunger and suffering. Surely we must say yes to God's diversity. And above all, we must say yes to that divine mind in which we move and breathe and have our being, and then use it in such a way that it shows we understand that we're standing on the shoulders of giants, answering the call to co-creation in this life for today and for those who come after us in another century. This is what Centers for Spiritual Living stands for. And there's not only one way for us to rise to our spiritual magnificence. For every person hearing these words, I know that there is in you a legitimate and powerful way to shine right from where you are for the benefit of a greater good that we can't even imagine yet. I want to be your spokesperson. I'm Edward Fillion, and I would love to be your spokesperson for Centers for Spiritual Living and for the diverse voices that make us who we are. I notice, even seek out the underrepresented, the marginalized, and bring those voices to the table for inclusion and consideration so that the world can understand the full beauty of our complex nature. I'm passionate about spiritual education because of what it has done in my life, as I'm sure it has in yours. And I'm loyal, and I'm committed, and I'm hardworking, and I'm ready to serve you if you will have me. Thank you.
And
The ditch. Then
Thank you. Thank you. And he is indeed, he is all of those things. He's all of those things. I don't know how long he's been at Santa Rosa, but Dr. Edward was the first one to come up with the themes that we use. Sometimes I use, sometimes I don't. He gives so many things for free, has just really been a tremendous person in the organization, and is extremely generous and extremely capable. He's South African. What else can I tell you about? He's in a partner. He's got a partner that's a man, so he's gay, and he's just all kinds of diversity. It's just such a beautiful thing to behold. And the organization has been through some changes. You know, it actually was two organizations at one time. Here we are talking about oneness and unity. And we were two separate organizations up until about 10 years ago. So Dr. Ken Gordon helped facilitate that coming together of the organizations, and we went from being religious science and science of mind. Now we call ourselves Centers for Spiritual Living. So it's been a journey, and it feels like we've turned the corner as a national, international organization where we're in the black. You know, things are growing, things are looking good, and we've got some new, bold, bright, beautiful leadership. So we're in a good space. It's a very good space. So I just want to expand on a couple of things that Dr. Edwards said. I loved some of these quotes. He said, "We are the beneficiaries of a teaching that can and does awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence. And we ought not keep that a secret for much longer." Don't you agree? Right? How many of you have been touched by this teaching in some way or another? Right? Where your lives have been changed. We know that there are people looking for this. We know there are people that are hurting. We know there are people that would benefit from knowing this. And it's time for us to get the word out and to let people know we're here. There was this idea of if you build it, they will come. That's not enough these days. Right? We built it, we're here, you know, now we need to let people know in a very real way that we are here and what this teaching can do for each one of us. Our teaching of oneness, inclusivity, and loving kindness is the answer to so many of our world's problems, a salve for hearts yearning for awakening. How many of you know that's true? Yeah, in a lot of ways we are in a world of hurt. We're in a world of hurt. There's fear, there's so much anger, division. It's part of the reason I started with that song. You know, love cover me. I felt like it was just a beautiful prayer. And the gentleman who wrote and performed that song was one of the performers at the convention. One of the many wonderful, amazing performers. Eddie Watkins was there, for those of you who know Eddie. It just was an amazing time. And for the newcomers, just to let you know, there's a whole genre of music that we call posse music that has a spiritual feel to it without being about God and Jesus, if you know what I mean. It's just got a really good message. And so there's a whole genre of that music, and we've got some amazing, talented people. So anyway, back to Dr. Edward. Our teaching of oneness, inclusivity, and loving kindness is the answer. I believe that. I believe that. And it was such an awesome experience to be with 600 other people who believe that as well and are working toward that. And we're not talking hippy-dippy people. We're not talking people, just pie in the sky, delusional, whatever. We're talking about people who have been to hell and back. You know what I mean? Right? Like there's this quote, I guess I've heard, that religion is for people afraid of going to hell. Spirituality is for people who've already been there. And now we take our knowledge and our understanding, and we help other people come through it. We help other people come through. So it just was a wonderful, wonderful thing to be in that environment of so many. I wish I could always bring you with me when I go to these events. Dr. Edward also mentioned Dr. Ernest Holmes, Reverend Dr. Ernest Holmes, who was the founder of this movement. And he made reference to a quote from something that was called the Sermon by the Sea. And that was, for those of you who don't know, Ernest Holmes was the founder of this thing we call Science of Mind, Religious Science Centers for Spiritual Living. He was the founder of that movement. And back in 1959, he did his final address at a state park in California called Asilomar that is just absolutely stunning, beautiful, amazing. I got to go this summer for my own ordination panel. And I just want to read you a few lines from Dr. Holmes and from that final address, the Sermon by the Sea, that Dr. Edward referenced. Ernest said, "We have discovered a pearl of great price. We have discovered the rarest gem that has ever found setting in the intellect of the human race. Complete simplicity, complete directness, a freedom from fear and superstition about the unknown and about God. And we have rediscovered that which the great, the good, and the wise have sung about and thought about, the imprisoned splendor within ourselves and within each other. And we have direct contact with it, whether we call it Christ in us, or the Buddha, or Atman, or just the Son of God, or the living Spirit, makes no difference. You and I are witness to the divine fact that we have discovered an authority beyond our own minds, though our minds use it. We are part of the evolution of human destiny. We are a part of the unfoldment of the divine intelligence in human affairs. This unfoldment has reached the point of conscious and deliberate cooperation with that principle of evolution and outpush of the creative urge of the Spirit." What Ernest is saying here is that we are all part of this divine creative expression that we call God. We just haven't always known it. We haven't always been aware of it. And that's what this are, probably a few hundred. But the idea was that if we could find just a handful of people that could really, really, truly grasp that message, we would change the world. Undoubtedly, we would change the world. And that message about find me a person that's without fear, of superstition, of God, is that not a message for today? How many things are there out there that we could be afraid of? People telling me not to travel. We've got viruses, we've got guns, we've got all of this crazy stuff going on. And yet we know on some level that we are these spiritual beings with this incredible, incredible power at our very fingertips. We have the power ourselves, right, to create our version, our reality, our experience of it. And it's through this teaching. I know it has changed my life. It has changed my life. That's why when I found this place 14 years ago, I knew I was home. I can't say I ever expected really to be a minister. There was maybe sort of kind of there in the background, but here I stand before you. You know, a person who never wanted to bring attention to myself. I like to be in the background, but here I am standing on a stage teaching this stuff, not just here, but other places. Right? I was at the prison again this week, teaching these principles to people who are literally imprisoned behind bars in some of the most difficult circumstance you could find. I mean, the big gratitude this week at the prison was that they finally had hot water on the dorm. One of the dorms had been for a month without hot water. You know, and I complain about my house, my this, my that, and I'm like, you know what? I got hot water every morning. I have a roof over my head. I have privacy. You know, it really changes your perspective. But these people, even behind bars, even people in really tough circumstances, can still find those things to be grateful for. You know, they can find ways to find joy and purpose and meaning, even in a really dark place. So if they can do it, what's holding us back? Maybe it's just not knowing. Maybe it's just the BS, right, that we've been carrying around for so long that we are releasing, slowly but surely releasing. And now we can be conscious in how we choose to move forward. Dr. Edwards said, we hold the blueprint of what is to come. We hold the blueprint for what is to come. I want you to think about that. Just like a seed, a teeny tiny seed, maybe it's an acorn, holds the blueprint for an entire tree, and God knows how many more acorns. It has the blueprint. That one tiny seed has the blueprint. Each one of us has the blueprint within us for our greater unfolding, all of the potential. Right, that it's already in there. It's already there. Now it's a matter of letting it out. We, you, me, we, each one of us, everyone at convention, all of the people in those 500 some odd centers, we are the visionaries. We are the vision casters. We are the vision holders for a world that works for everyone. That's tremendous. And maybe you don't feel that way right now. Maybe you're still there on the fence, feeling that little fear. Or like me, when I got off when I landed in Denver and thought, oh my God, my computer. You know, my first thought wasn't, oh, this is going to be great. No, that was not my first thought. That's the honest truth. That was not my first thought. But we're human, right? I'm a human being. So you have those thoughts. You have those ideas, those old beliefs come into place, but then you get to be conscious about it. Then you get to think and say, no, now does this thought serve me? Is this helping me? And you can change your thought in an instant. We each have the capacity to do that. And if we're not the ones saying that there is a vision for something better, who else is going to do it? Who else is out there holding that vision? Are you hearing any politicians talking about how great things are going to be 10 years down the road or 20? They're not even thinking about that. And yet here we are in this little movement with the audacity to say that we are creating a world that works for everyone. Everyone. That means for me. That means for you. That means for your loved one. That means for all of us. Is that not a worthy cause? It is to me. It is to me. Our highest priority is to share our good news. Is to share that good news anywhere and everywhere that people are dreaming of a greater yet to be. I know that I have experienced that. If you looked at me 15 years ago to where I am now, it's almost two different people. I've lost, weight-wise, almost a whole person. And along with all of those extra pounds was all of the pain and the shame and the hurt and the BS that I carried that was not just mine, but family from eons of things that had been passed down to me, right, through my family and through teachers and through school and through culture. Just a lot of stuff that just didn't serve. And that's what we invite you to look at. I invite you to investigate your life. Ask questions. Question everything. Take nothing as the gospel truth. unless it is your truth, unless it is the truth. But you get to decide that. You get to investigate that for yourself. And we've talked about if you want to know how to do that, go back and listen to a couple of talks ago where I spoke about how do we know the things that we know, right? We can know things from our own personal experience, from observation, and yet we know that's not always right. Correct? Have you ever made mistakes? Have your observations ever been off? But we know that's one way, right? Another way is that we can use our logic and reason. I may not see it in front of me, but I can reason this out. I can think about it and make sense of it. The other way that we can know is through our intuition, right? Through our feeling nature. Do you feel it in your bones? Sometimes you know things without knowing how you know it. Does that ever happen to you? Right? You know who's on the other end of the phone. You might know something that's going to happen. You click eyes with somebody and know you're going to be friends or you're going to be lovers or something. How do you know that? There's a part of you that knows. There's an intuition that we all have. And then there's direct revelation. So what's going on in your life, match it up to all of those things, right? Does it match up to observation? Does it make sense logically? Does it feel intuitively right? And that's how you decide, is this is for me or it isn't? It isn't. So our highest priority is to share our good news anywhere and everywhere that people are dreaming of a greater yet to be. We, as I have said many times, none of us get out of this life alive. Not a single one of us. Every one of us came here with gifts, with something that we're here to do, and a set time to do it in. You can wear the masks, you know, you can wash your hands 50 times a day, but when your number's up, your number's up. Nothing is going to keep you here longer, and nothing's going to take you before that. That's my opinion, and you can take that or not, you know. I don't tell you have to believe anything I say. But we are each here to make the most of this gift that we have that we call life, and encourage those around us to do the same. And so that brings me back to the affirmation, which I took from the words of Reverend Dr. Edward Vioon. I changed it just a little bit, and I condensed it.